what was I drinking? And where we're going to start tonight is, where was I drinking? So the original and the best, folks. Frankie's Tiki Room, Las Vegas. Now, if you've been to Vegas, you've probably drank at a few bars with coconuts and very strange coloured drinks with a lot of fruit in them. But unless you've pulled up at Frankie's Tiki Bar next to the gas station with the big green neon light and the pink writing that says Frankie's Tiki Bar, unless you've gone inside and literally walked into the jungle room bamboo furniture, then you haven't been to Frankie's Tiki Bar. These guys are the greatest. They've written a book on the history of the Tiki Bar in America. They've taken original recipes from back in the day, from the 60s. They've modified them, and they've really given you a helpful guide on the drinks menu. The number of skull and crossbones is the danger level. And it's just sensational. If you
so the danger is in you're going to get really drunk on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. It gives you a bit of an idea of the octane level. Let's put it that way. But it's like walking into another world. The bartenders are sensational. They're not arrogant. They really know their business. They know the history of the drinks. And the jukebox there has got everything from great old surf classics to Frank Sinatra. It's the place where bartenders go when they knock off, and very rarely do you find any tourists in there. And when you get up to the bar and you have a non-Vegas accent, they want to know how you found it. So next time you're in Vegas, when we're allowed to get out of the Australian bubble and back overseas, you want to go to Frankie's Tiki Room, Las Vegas. West Charleston, folks, in the Arts District.
Well, that sounds a pretty choice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we've come to, for those of you who don't know, I'm Kate McClure and it's Jane Ferrari. And we are now coming to the end of season 2. And we've got a delightful young chap joining us this evening with some really fun and interesting wines that I think is a great exploration for a lot of people who are just either learning about wine, or even if you think you know quite a bit about it, there's some new varieties that you may not have come across yet, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jane gets to talk in her Italian accent a little bit tonight, which I'm excited about.
That's exactly right. We have a really interesting situation where Ashley and Holly Ratcliffe have taken the approach that up in their Riverlands vineyard near Barmera, they've decided that they're going to use varieties that are better adapted to the warmer conditions in the Riverland. They've gone straight to the Mediterranean, and the list of varieties that they've got, it sounds like a really upmarket pizza bar. Nero d'Avola, Montepulciano, Tinta Barocca, Fiano, Vermentino, Aglianico, Arinto. It just sounds really cool, doesn't it? Makes you want to be part Italian. Makes you want to drive a Monaro. Makes you want to say ciao when you see your mates. But in all honesty, they've done a tremendous job with these things. And, they've gone out and they've gone, you know what, let's have a label that looks like a tie-dyed T-shirt, because Juicy June is all about having a bit of fun.
I know. I totally agree, Jane. And as I was lining the wines up tonight, I saw this, the rainbow of colours, and it made you feel like it was fun and inviting. And I love the approach they've taken with that. And you don't forget it in a hurry.
No, and the story's good, Bullets before cannonballs. Why would you name a wine Bullets before cannonballs?
I'm looking forward to understanding that one.
Well, you know what? It's really cool because back in the day when galleons fought each other, that's sailing ships for those people. That's not a gallon fighting each other. When galleons or sailing ships fought each other, the ones armed with cannons, the really cluey sailors would fire a gun to see the trajectory of the bullet, and the bullet would give you how to align your cannons to get the best effect from your shot.
Get out of town.
True story. So
True story.
basically, Holly and Ash, and this is going to be an interesting question. You can ask this. You can
make myself sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Correct.
Sure.
They've taken this approach by saying, you know what? We're not just going to plant a fruit salad block and see what grows well in the Riverland.
Yeah.
Let's do little trial blocks. Let's see what really goes well. That's firing the bullets. And let's see when we find one, when we nail one, there's our cannonball.
Yeah.
So that's a really...
Jeez, you're insightful, Jane.
That comes of being old and sitting at home with not much to do.
I love it though. I think that's excellent. I think you're probably spot on there.
I love everything they're doing, and it's one thing to have cool and tricky labels, but when you can match it up and deliver in the glass, that's what it's about. And I think these guys are making wines that are tremendous drinks. They've got a few clues, and you know what? It's all about sustainability and adapting to the climate, and they've got it in spades. So.
And I think they're absolutely doing that. And they're really, I think Ricca Terra has been responsible, as have quite a few other brands in that region, for really changing the consumer perception of what Riverland's all about.
Oh, absolutely.
They are now understanding with, the information that we've had in the years in that region, that they know what grows well there. And we are seeing some stunning fruit coming out of there. And this is a great example of that.
Yeah, I think, and I'm keen to hear Ash talk about these varieties in the ground, because I haven't worked with any of them. I mean, okay, you've got some Grenache in the Juicy June, and you've got some Shiraz in the Bullets before Cannonballs, but you've got a 2 variety blend and a 4 variety blend there, so it's going to be, I mean, it's obvious you take the best from here, the best from there, and you put it together, and they're doing well. But
they really are. The wines are cracking.
Yeah, and it's good too, because I think Ash has been behind quite a few viticultural seminars for folks in the region on how to get the best out of these varieties, and especially white varietals that hold their acid really well in warm conditions. And so he's not
doesn't it? Really does.
They're not just doing the right thing by themselves, they're doing the right thing by a region. So
no, I totally agree. Shall we bring him over?
Oh yeah, zoom him in.
Let's do it.
You have to do that because I'm not technically adept.
And the fact that you think I'm good at this is a joke.
I'm very impressed.
I think it just means I'm less bad at it than you. There he is. You need to turn your mic on.
Can you?
Or not, it's up to you. There you go.
There it is. We got audio and visual.
Did you not have that last week? Jane, did you get visual in the end?
No, I had nothing at all. I was going, you guys just look like big black shadows, so I was just feeling my way, literally.
Oh my gosh, that's excellent. Ash, how are you?
I'm good. I was supposed to have an alcohol-free day today, but
oh, oops.
You guys spoiled it, so it's pretty good.
That's good then. We're happy. Thanks for joining us. And I know we've sort of messed it up for a few people doing it a night early, but hey, we broke some rules here. We can do what we want.
Listen, thanks for making the change to suit me.
No, that's all right. You're kind of the key for this whole thing.
Well, let them know why. You got the big gig in the big city tomorrow night.
I have, yes, with Soms in Adelaide. We've got their big tasting, and they've been really good for us in Adelaide. So we were trying to juggle it, but seeing Kate this morning as I have my weekly breakfast. Actually, now it's almost twice a week at Hive, and she agreed to change it, which was so thank you.
Okay, just before we go any further, Kate, do you just want to give us a bit of a squiz at the wearables that you're sporting this evening, mate? That looks like a Ricca Terra hoodie to me.
It is.
Oh,
Even
okay.
me.
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's a look.
No,
Yeah.
just we've got the merch does pretty well actually around the place. So I'm always trying to sort of work out. This is one of our original. This is the
That's
Far
pretty
brand.
cool.
So yeah. So anyway, as you probably know, I brand everything. My view is that.
Yeah, yes, you do.
My view is that it's about repetition, repetition, and repetition. And if you're not going to promote your brand, no one else is. So
That's exactly right.
so we're very big on branding as much as we can.
Isn't that, I heard a story once, you may know this to be true or not, but Wolf Blass used to have his name called over the microphone in over the PA system at the airports.
Yeah.
So that people would hear his name. Is that true?
Well, I don't know if it's true, but it makes sense. I mean,
Pretty funny.
it's a cluttered market out there, and you've got to use every trick in the book.
Totally. Well, look, thank you for joining us. I'm pretty excited about seeing these wines. A long supporter of what you've been doing. I love what you're doing in the Riverland, and I think, you know, Jane mentioned before about the work that's gone into the varietal selections and all of that sort of the plantings that you're doing. Can you talk us through that thought process? Because when you bought this vineyard in 2003, was that your intention, or did that sort of change over time?
Well, I don't know what I was doing back in 2003. I actually started. As we all three of us, people who are watching, I don't know who's watching, we all worked together at Yalumba. When I started with Yalumba, we had a brand called Birchwood. James Walker at the time said, "Well, you can't have a wine brand, but you can have a vineyard." And well, you know, whatever. And we bought this vineyard up in the Riverland. It's purely because of economics. To buy a vineyard in the Barossa was was just ridiculous. We couldn't afford it, and I had a bit of an experience in the Riverland. We just bought a little 20-acre vineyard, and that was a Chardonnay was $900 a tonne. So you know, it was absolutely fantastic. And then then it fell off a cliff within 2 years, and I just thought to myself, you know, well, we're either going to go broke doing this and following everybody else, or we started looking at some points of difference. And luckily, with Yalumba, I was able to travel, and I spent some time down in Sicily and in southern Italy as well, and decided, well, some of these varieties should do really well in our region, and no one was doing it. So I just thought, well, just plant them and see what happens. And that's what we've been doing ever since. Every year we're planting more and more of these different varieties. I think there's 35 different varieties at the moment, and anything from one row, which is 2 or 3 tonnes, up to 100 tonnes.
And do you know what you're going to do with them when you're planting them? Like, if you've only got something that's one row, are you thinking, yes, I'm going to be blending this with the Aglianico or anything?
No, not really. No, not really. I mean, I've always said to our kids, you know, you've got to see it before you. I used to coach the Angerson Football Club, and I used to say to the kids, and my son as well, you know, who's playing in his first grand final on the weekend. I said, you've got to see it before you do it. So, you know, I'm a big dreamer. So, you know, I'm always sort of going, well, you know, Nera d'Avola is going to be the greatest variety in the world, but no one's ever heard of it. Or, you know, Rinto, prime example at the moment. And I mean, I'm a bit of a self-taught. I talk to myself, spend a lot of time by myself. I'm a great friend to myself, chatting away in the vineyard.
That's funny.
And you know, so it is that very much visionary sort of thing. Well, just plant it and see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah, and that's the approach we've really taken now. And you know, I'm really happy that the Riverland has sort of found a bit of a new, a new belonging. I mean, we've got 30 different winemakers. Even today, you know, I saw the new Shaw and Smith wine brand coming out with their Rinto, and it's got Ricca Terra on the front label. And I mean, I get tickled pink when I see that, because, you know, here's an icon, Adelaide Hills Winery, that tapped us on the shoulders. We're going to play with the Rinto, and now it's out there and in Sydney. So it is a bit of a dreaming game, this planting these new varieties and just seeing where it goes. But that's the fun. Better than growing Shiraz or Chardonnay and etc.
Well, and I guess it's the fact that they grow well there. Like, it's a climate thing that actually works in your favour.
Look, I'm drinking. This is our straight off the bottling hall today, the Montepulciano.
Oh, nice.
It's amazing. We've actually, the colour of it's just absolutely. You know, the thing I love about this, my favourite comment is from people is, oh, that's not a Riverland wine. Doesn't look like a Riverland wine. I'm going, well, that's because you've seen the bulk stuff. All you've done is your gauge is the stuff that's growing at 15, 20 tonnes to the acre. You haven't seen the 6, 7, 8, 6 tonnes to the acre with the varieties. Montepulciano is a prime example. I mean, you try and grow. I mean, you're a brave person growing in Adelaide Hills. It takes green tannins. The seeds are green for a long time. You know, it's the premium wine growing region out, you know, in Australia for growing Montepulciano as a Riverland because you've got that heat. You need some of these varieties.
So, but you know, when you said before you've got a row of this and a row of that, basically that gives you an idea that you're not actually flying blind though, because if you only put a row in here and there of everything, then if something shows some promise, then you can expand the planting. It's not like you're planting acres and acres and acres and then you go, well, that's a bit of a dud, so I'm going to have to pull all that out. So you're going about it in a really measured fashion, you know.
Well, Jane,
it's
you're
not
right.
just hit and miss.
I'll give you an example. There's a variety called Cesarea, which is Portuguese. It's a red flesh variety. Got one row of it. The guy named Tim Stock took half of it when we used a bit of ourselves. And the fruit looks great, but of course that's the next step. You take that variety, and move forward. We did that with Nero. We started with I don't know, 5 tonnes of Nero d'Avola. We're growing 100 tonnes of Nero d'Avola. I mean, the Arintos are one of the other varieties. So yeah, you do learn. The problem with growing grapes is such a long lag. Sometimes, you know, when I turned 50 this year, and I'm going, I probably only have another maybe 15 years before I want to sort of hang up the boots. And, you know, in that 15 years, I'm really only going to get another shot of maybe another, for new varieties, another probably 2 or 3 varieties. So you really sometimes have to just go, that's with a dream. You go, well, you know, bugger it. We roll the dice and see what happens. We've only had one variety that's failed. It's a variety called Schlenkermanker Bella. I love the name.
You know,
that is a real shame that did not come off.
I love it. It's supposed to be Grillo and it ended up being a mix-up like the old...
Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, 7 1.
Yeah.
It's just that, you know, there were a couple of people. There was Inkwell Wines that took it, and there's a few others that loved it, but could never get it right. The acid crap, you know, overcropped all the time. Even if it got hailed out, it threw a massive crop. So out of all the varieties we planted, that's the only one that's failed. So, and our manager.
Say it again.
Schlenkermanker Bella. We couldn't find a better synonym for it. I'll tell you.
Well, you know, that's fate. That's fate telling you that you just can't tattoo that on your arm, mate.
I tell you, it saved James Halliday's ass, that wine. We were down at a wine show in Sydney called Century 21, which was run by Chalmers family, and we started to talk about a big group. There's a panel. James was on it. I was at the back having a beer with Mike, Ben, and a few others, and the question was asked about climate change and what James thought about it, and James was sort of like, well, wasn't quite sure whether he believed it or not. And of course, the crowd erupted, and he was sort of almost getting attacked. And I was sitting next to a mate of mine, Brad Weir, and I said, you know, there was a time and place where Schlenkermanker Bella was going to work right now. So I put my hand up and I said, James, if you had a variety called Schlenkermanker Bella, what would you do? And of course, the whole crowd erupted into laughter. And he said, I'd sell it to some hipster place in Melbourne. So then all of a sudden, it diffused the angst and the tension in the whole room. So, but it's gone now. It's actually, we top directed to Albarino.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this is my first ever experience with Arinto, and I really like this tropical lemony combo nose thing, but it's just got some zip on the palate. Now,
so much zip.
What's the story here? You've got barrel fermented in old oak. It doesn't taste like any oak at all. It's just got really lovely presence, and hand-picked on the label. It just says hand-picked, hand-pruned, barrel fermented.
Yep.
So what's the story here?
So if we go back to the origins of Arinto, how I came about it was, I'm very fortunate. I work with 3 nurseries. One's Chalmers, Yolumba, and Riverland Vine Improvement. Riverland Vine Improvement is probably no more than 2 kilometres up the road from our vineyards. it was great because when we used to get the really, 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 really hot weather, you know, the 45-degree plus, I'd go up there and I'd just walk around and see how things were performing. And I came across this variety one day. It was only, again, a row of it. It was just absolutely pristine. It grows a bit like Sauvignon Blanc, quite an erect sort of variety. It had its acid, and I thought, man, this is just amazing. What is it? And the guy said it's a Rinto. I thought, shit, it's easy to pronounce, a Rinto. Any 3-year-old can pronounce a Rinto, like Schlankermanker Bella or Viognier. So I said, can I buy the fruit? So I bought the fruit, and we did our first Rinto, and just played around with it. That's when I was at Yolumbra, so I couldn't have a brand, but I'd still just got it made, and I had a look at it, and then basically, you know, gave the wine. It was only like a bucket ferment sort of thing. I thought, this is really good. So we started planting it. The couple of things I really like about a Rinto, one is that it does hold its acid. And that's one thing we look at all of our reds. You know, they hold their acids really well. I mean, one variety we grow, which is Greco. You know, Greco is the last thing we pick, but we use Greco in some of our other blends just for acid addition rather than using tartaric. So we do a lot of that, things like Legrand. We use grape varieties in our recipe rather than just adding external stuff. The other thing about Rinto, it's very small berried, big bunched. It's a really nice grow, and it's starting. We probably grow close to 25 tonnes of Rinto. So we've got the largest producers of Rinto in Australia, and we just can't keep up.
Yeah, right. So on that, Tom, who's following us, watching us live on Facebook, has just asked to whom else you sell your Rinto. So what other brands? So did you just say that was the Shaw and Smith are doing one?
Yep. The other Wine Co.
Oh, yeah?
That's their co-brand. Inkwell Wines and Zilsey Wines have just got behind us. So they're the only ones. And then Ricca Terra. I mean, we just don't have enough. I mean,
so is the demand increasing through all of these brands, or are you seeing it increasing through Ricca Terra?
It's one of the biggest pressures we have at the moment is keeping up with supply. We don't have enough Nero. We don't have enough Fiano. We don't have enough Vermentino.
Isn't that a good problem to have for you?
It's fantastic, and it's good pricing as well. You know, we're not selling it at commercial prices.
Yeah.
So it's actually part of our business that we continue to grow. Each year we're planting about 25 acres of vineyard this year. You know, we've got more Monte going in, more Nero, more Fiano, Lambrusco. So more new clones, Tempranillo, more Grenache Blanc. You know, we grow a lot of Grenache Blanc, which is one of my favourite varieties. So we're always pulling stuff out and putting it in.
Oh, well, that's great. Oh, I'm really pleased because I've got to say, I could see this being like a great food wine with that great acidity, and the flavour's beautiful. You can see a little bit of that, the sort of structure and depth to it on that middle palate really before it finishes with this great acidity. And speaking of food, what an excellent segue from the Angus Smokehouse.
I'm a
veggie.
Can I just dive in and do my...
Don't look.
No, I'm going to give us another glass of wine.
Yeah, I just want to do my sponsor spot. This is thanks a million to the boys at the Barossa Smokehouse Butchers in the main street of Anguston. I went in this morning and ordered the meat for tomorrow, but fortunately I had one in the freezer. They make this tremendous thing called the chicken mignon. So it's single smoked bacon, wrapped chicken breast done with, injected with garlic butter. And I've just got this at around about 180 degrees fan force. It is absolutely sensational, and I think is the proper food match for a Rinto.
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
thanks Pete, Steve and Kyle at Barossa Smokehouse Butchers. We love your work. We were going to put a chicken trio together, the big chunky shazlik and some smoky barbecue chicken wings, but we're sending out a night early. So anyway, the chicken mignon, folks, if you want to go in and grab one or several from Barossa Smokehouse Butchers, Main Street, Anguston. Okay, I'm just going to put it back in the oven.
Nice job. Speaking of vegetarian, all of your wines are vegan friendly, correct?
Correct, yep.
And is that a conscious decision? What made you swing that way?
Pure marketing.
Really?
Yep.
Good job.
I've been vegetarian nearly a couple of years, and the reason I did it was just a couple of, actually, it's a funny story is that I've always had high clip, always run, tried to keep.
Yeah, you're like super fit.
Well, I was fitter, but I still try to keep fit. And my doctor, who said to me, who we all know, I won't mention his name, he's a local guy, said if you went vegetarian, you could reverse some of your issues with your heart, which are minor things, they're nothing major. So I decided to become a vegetarian, and
has it worked?
Well, 6 months later, I'd had these tests and nothing changed.
Oh.
So, but I got used to it. So it's like, I actually quite enjoy not eating meat. Every now and then, like Holly cooked a great meal last night, and I still had my mushrooms. So no, it's just something I got used to. But the reason we did vegan is because, making vegan wines are easy.
Yes, and it just opens up the accessibility.
It is, and that's what I say. Sometimes we, as an industry, we make things too complicated. Like Jane, you're saying about old barrels. We use old barrels because we don't want to. As a viticulturist, I want to see what the fruit looks like. I don't want it dominated by a heap of. I remember Jane Faulkner absolutely lecturing me one day about putting in. People don't know Jane Faulkner. She's a wine writer down in Melbourne. About putting, these wines in. This is before we even had a brand. She was actually, scathing about a number of other producers in the Riverland who were just using all this new oak on these alternative varieties, which aren't suited to it. They're light and they're fragrant, and as soon as you put French oak or American oak, you kill it. So we use old oak because it's just used as a vessel for managing ullage. Yeah. 2 is that we want to see what the wine looks like without oak, and 3, it's bloody cheap. So, we're very much about, in our winemaking, is very much still about a business. I have a view that there's nothing wrong with making profit. And I'm very proud about saying that because, if you can't make a profit, you can't do the things that help the environment.
It's sustainable then, is it?
It's sustainable. So we look at things like going, well, we don't need to have new oak. Our old oak suits our things. We've got wines that have been released super early, but people like drinking them. So, we're not going to be, most of our wines, the oldest wine we'd have would be the Marathon Man, which I'm going to have a bit of a glass of now, which is 2019. That's our oldest wine.
Yeah, right.
And Juicy June, you got there. Juicy June was bottled in, we bottled that and then we sold 400 cases in 3 weeks.
That's a ripper, that one.
Look at the colour. Look at the colour.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? That they're very sessionable. As I went through them, I could absolutely sit and knock those back for some time. Like, you could do a day's drinking on them and be fine with that.
Let's keep going, Jay.
No, you go.
I look at a view about the industry is that this and I hate to be shot down by this, but my time at Yalumba was that there was always, and I guess you guys might think there's a lot of division between the marketers didn't know what they were doing, and the hardest. Andrew Murphy, who's actually our unofficial chair, is a great guy. My neighbour used to say to me the hardest thing, because I obviously went from viticulture, running Oxford Landing into bottling. He said the closer you get to the customer, the tougher it's get, and the hardest role and everything is selling wine.
Absolutely correct.
Absolutely the hardest thing, and I'm spending time. And I hear people want to make the greatest wine in the world, and that's fantastic. But the hardest thing to do is actually selling it. So with the Juicy June, we came out with the idea was we're running out of wine. We're going, how do we get around this? So we said, why don't we make a wine that we make, bottle, no oak, have a fancy label, have a really colourful label. Use 2 varieties. We've got Negramaro. We're really finding it. Where can we use Negramaro as a variety? We were using it in Bullets Before Cannonballs, and we did a tasting. I thought I wanted this wine that punched fruit, and it was just really vibrant. We wanted a light style. That's why it's in the Flint bottle as well. And it was simple. It's basically less. It was less about the wine, more about what the consumer wanted.
Yeah.
We actually listened. What was the consumer wanting? They wanted wine that was they could chill. They could drink something. They didn't want to think about it. They wanted the pricing right. They wanted a bright label that you could floor stack. The story of Juicy June is that we wanted something it's juicy, and it's in June. It's pretty simple. And my mother-in-law is Judy. She wanted me to call it Juicy Judy. I said, well, no. But that was the whole we thought more about the consumer than we did about the wine.
It's a little bit concerning if it was Juicy Judy. I love it.
Just want to say 2 things. Absolutely love hearing a wine grower say that the hardest thing is selling wine. And I'm just going to add a couple of words on the end of that. The hardest thing is to sell wine at margin.
Correct.
Because anyone can give it away. But
Very
what I
true.
like about this, two things. Number one, it's got Negro Amaro. That's sort of an Italian varietal from Apulia down the south. If you're looking at a map of Italy, folks, or you've got one in your head, the Italian boot, then Apulia is down on the skinny heel, right? So it's just a hop and a skip across the Adriatic to, to Corfu, to not far to Greece. But Negro Amaro, this is it's like cherry berry spice, and it's not sweet. It's an unashamedly full-bodied end of rosé, but look at the colour. It's not that horrible washed-out salmon rubbish that marketers are pushing because it's so lily-livered, water-white rubbish. This is proper flavour, proper fruit, proper colour, and it's at the solid end of rosé. Love it.
Well, it's actually not a rosé though. We've actually, it's a sort of wine that you can make a slushy out of. You can rice in. And look, it's
gorgeous.
It's run out the door for us, and it's actually, like I said, Negramaro was a variety that I love because it's a great variety to grow, but it didn't really fit into anything else, and it just sort of it's now Juicy June.
And I think it works perfectly. I know what you mean, Jane, about it being sort of that end of the rosé. It's because you would drink it in the same sort of way. It is
you could chill this
punch bowl of beautiful fruit flavour, but also then it's got that layer of structure that you often don't see in rosé, which makes it really different.
It's got a lovely length. It's got a beautiful mouthful of fruit that doesn't fall away.
It's a serious wine. I'm really lucky. Our wines are made by Andrew Quinn out of Hentley, and I'm really lucky when it comes to the blending sessions. I've got a guy that you'll know, Brian Walsh, who Brian Walsh is a co-owner of the vineyard where the Juicy June comes from. When Brian retired from Yalumba, he sat me down at a coffee shop one day and he said, if you ever want an investor in a vineyard, happy to do it with this. We've actually invested in 2 vineyards. We sold one together, and we've got this one which is all of our Caribou, which are all it's about 6 hectares, and it's got 15 varieties in it.
Wow!
And then we've got Murph as well. So I sit around there and we do these blending sessions. I think I'm pretty lucky to have these guys sitting
around.
Great mentors.
Yeah, so these are wines, and it shows in the wine. I mean, I come up with the crazy shit. I'm planting the crazy varieties, crazy ideas, and they laugh at me. And but the old Juicy June, because I kept going on at Juicy June. I said I reckon it's going to work, and it's fun. Especially, and we called it especially in the COVID thing. We said we need a wine that's actually fun and exciting and actually shouts life. And Shelley, who works for me here, she does all our. I said, Shelley, she designed the label. I said, the key is I want it brighter and funner than the rest of our labels. So that's it. So she came up with that. And
this the girl who's on your in your Our Team thing on your website that gets shit done. Is she the get shit done girl?
Yeah, she does get shit done.
I love the get shit done people.
This is like one of the world's best tie-dyed t-shirts.
Yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
But each time I go back to the wine, Ash, it's the balance. It's that fruit acid length balance on the palate. It's just lovely.
And the finish is that fruit's still sitting there.
The thing about our wines is, we blend it. I guess what I bring to that winemaking team is looking at I'm sort of like, I bring all the ingredients to the table. Things like Durif and LaGray. I mean, when we get to the next wine, it's about what are the wines. And you say, well, we never had Shiraz in there before. I mean, Shiraz was a big call. But Shiraz was an absolutely cracking year in 2020. I'm going, the problem we had is we're running out of, we're running out of wine so quickly. I mean, we've got another brand called 22 Degree Halo, which is more of a, I wouldn't say commercial, but it's sort of used, because when you go to the trade, a lot of people get scared by the alternative varieties. They go, oh, my Shiraz and Savvy.
Yeah.
So what we do is we have a Shiraz Nero blend or a Savvy Fiano blend.
Yeah.
And it introduces people to alternative varieties.
Yeah.
So to me, we're very serious about, our vineyards are all hand pruned. you know, they're hand picked, single wire. Most winemakers go up there. We had Bozzy coming up from Kaysler recently. He came back and goes, you know, I didn't think you guys did stuff like that up in the Riverlands.
Yeah.
I said, most people don't. But you
No,
know,
it's a very different perception, I think.
and that's why
Hey.
they've got more intensity, more colour, and I'd hate to see what the region could do if it all went that way. I mean, I think some of the premium regions would be, you know, shuddering in their boots because it can produce some pretty powerful wines.
Hey, the more I go back to this wine, the more I'm thinking salt, the more I'm thinking charcuterie, great salami, prosciutto. This is tailor-made for everything from that cabinet to barbecue pork pastries and exo beans. This is really versatile stuff.
I'm thinking, I think about it as ice bean bags on the back of the lawn, and after a bottle, you know, sort of falling out of the bean bag. Look, we're very happy with it. It's going like hotcakes.
No wonder why.
We'll sell out of it, and no, we're very happy with it. I mean, again, I come back to that point as there are so many, and I had a friend who's going to develop their own brand, and I said, you've got to work from the consumer back. You know, so many winemakers, they get this idea, they get a dream in their head about, I want to make this wine, and this is my label, and I'm going, the first thing you do when you get your first label is screw it up and throw it away, because it's going to be shit. No one's going to want it. Go into a
Marketing 101 with Ash Ratcliffe. I love it.
Well, I did a master's in marketing, so
you might know a thing or two.
I really love marketing, and if I didn't do viticulture, I would have done marketing. My view is, at the end of the day, the consumer is the king, and you've got to understand, how do you stand out, have a point of difference, and having a brand that looks like everybody else's is a rule. So as you can see, one of the things we did is when I was going to a wine shop, it blew my eyes.
Yeah.
All I could see was white. And I thought, we're not having any white on our labels, except for a bit of Juicy June, there's a bit of white there. So everything had to be pop out. The wine you're looking at the moment, the Ricca Terra Bullets Before Cannonballs, actually got rejected by the Trump government because it was too bright. We had to tone it down.
On the Cola Wave or whatever, you didn't get it through?
No, too bright.
Excellent.
That's a good thing.
Huh.
That's a good thing.
So
you know you're onto something good then.
Yeah. So 4 varieties, and you said you add the Lagrange for acid.
So the Bullets Before Cannonballs, actually interesting. I heard you talk about stories. One of the other things that we came up with our brand, or the blends. We have a couple of blends. We have Bullets. We've got this one here, Marathon Man. We have Bronco Buster and Daisy Chain. One of the things I remember I guess when I was working in that more corporate environment, going out listening to winemakers, and Jane, you're a great example of that. There weren't too many storytellers. They were talking about yeast and barrels and malolactic fermentation. I thought, oh my God, I feel like poking myself in the eye with a fork because it is so boring.
Correct.
And so one of the things we said is, when we're out and you know, when you're out in trade, you're telling the story day after day, and you think to yourself, there might have been 15 winemakers in this wine shop before I worked, and they were all talking about the same thing, barrels, and I want to tell a story. So, you know, it's about Bronco Buster, for example, is, I spent time in Texas breaking in horses and representing Australia riding horses, and it was about when I was younger, and it was about the idea
That's really cool.
It was the idea about breaking in horses and planting a vineyard is very similar, because if you get it wrong, it's very painful. Marathon Man's about, and this is all the new clones that when I was involved with the Alumba with Ante Vineyard, you know, brought all the new clones coming in from France, some of the best clones in the world, and that's a 10-year process to get one single vine, and then you get it into the country. And before, as a grower, it gets 10 years, and I run 15 marathons, and it's a painful process. So, you know, again, when you're telling those stories out in the trade, you get more engagement. And I've heard you many times, and what you do so well is the fact that you get engagement and people hang on every word. If you're talking about barrels and yeast and everybody else does the same thing, well, you know, there's a blankness. So that, again, you've got a bright labels, good wine, but you really have to have that connection with with a consumer that can say, well, bullets before cannonballs is about validating strategy. So,
But also the other side of that coin, Ash, once you've got the engagement, woe betide anybody that has got rubbish in the glass.
Pardon me, sorry, what was that?
Once you've got that engagement, woe betide anybody today as today who's got rubbish in the glass.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't just go, you can't just go out with nice bright labels and say, ta-da, here we are. You've got the other side of the coin covered, and that's the really important thing as well. You know, you need both sides these days. There's so much good wine, and what I like about this one is this is a big step up in the weights. Now, it doesn't lose anything on the nose. If anything, it's kind of like a worm drive. It just keeps screwing new, different fruit flavors up. As soon as you think you've got them all, it worm drives something else up.
It's interesting what you say. There's a lot of wine labels out there that have quirky labels and have really interesting stories, but they do. I personally, I think they fall a little bit short on the wine style. And again, I have this view that we have this assumption that all the consumers understand wine. 90% of the consumers don't know anything about wine. When you put it, you think about, and I could be careful what I'm saying, but when you think of how much as an industry we spend on what tannins feel like in the mouth and the flavours, aromas, and you say to average Joe Blow, what does it smell like? I go, a wine. You go, well, we're wasting a lot of money. I think we should be spending more money on marketing than research. But,
so do I, having a marketing consulting business. I think that's a great idea.
It's really important. I mean, and I think COVID's a prime example. All these Zoom meetings, all this stuff, and creating. And when I go out in the trade and they go, we're busier than Christmas at the moment. People aren't thinking about. I think it's important to have good wine. And I guess what we're coming from is that we want it all. We're looking at the story, the packaging, and the wine. And I think that's where the long-term thing is. But it's an interesting journey. And I think the thing about this, in regards to the varieties in there, I mean, I haven't got a bottle in it. Look, the Tempranillo is the prime driver.
Yeah, right.
And we've just planted a heap of new Toro clones, which we're really excited about. I think that'll add to it. Lagrange to me is a variety that's actually really difficult to grow in the Riverland. It does actually burn quite quick, so it's probably not the best suited variety for the Riverland. But
do you have to pull that off earlier, or because of the heat?
No, it's just about 14% 14 BOMO.
Yeah, okay.
It gives great colour.
Yeah.
Nero's pretty easy in there. It works well. Like I said, Shiraz was just a bit of this is a problem child wine for us. It sells so quickly. So we've used the Shiraz there, just gives it more volume, but it was just a great year for Shiraz. And we've used Monty in there. We've used Aglianico in there, which is an amazing variety as well. So the thing about this wine is we try to get the very similar each year. Each year we're trying to get it, tasting very similar. And it's won 7 trophies. I mean, 2017-18, it was regarded as one of the best blend with the Wine Wise Awards. Won a couple of trophies at Alternative Variety Wine Show. It got top gold at Adelaide Wine Show 18, I think. So
yeah, right. That's good. And I think as a viticulturalist first, and also clearly a marketer, given your masters in that area, I love that we're seeing this thread as we're talking. I think this season's been a lot about viticulture, and we've talked a lot about viticulture and how the wine is made in the vineyard. And there's so much work that goes into that back end that people don't even really understand. And I think more and more people, or certainly winemakers who've got some tenure, are really looking to pare back what they're doing so you can see what's happening in the vineyard, like you said, about not over oaking things because you want to see what's in the vineyard. We're seeing that more and more, which is fantastic.
Well, I mean, you can bugger it up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Hey, can I do a quick Aglianico Italian moment for our Italian fans?
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. This one, Aglianico is in the blend. It's from the region of Campania. Campania is halfway between the toe of the boot of Italy and Rome, which is roughly halfway up the whole country. And one of the dishes that's a regional strength of Campania, which is kind of like between Naples on the coast and Salerno inland, is melanzane parmigiana, and that's eggplant done with mozzarella and special super duper tomato sauce, Jane makes. And I can see this going beautifully with this thing.
Non parlo italiano, Jane.
You don't?
I love how everybody talks a little slower in Italiano.
I speak Italian.
Mi dispiace, ma non parla italiano bene, ma capito tutti.
Tutti.
Actually, we do a straight Aglianico. We actually won a trophy on Friday at the Australian Italian Variety Wine Show. We got the most exciting wine for our 2019 Aglianico. So,
oh, cool.
What label is that?
If you give me 2 seconds, I'll find it. Wait up.
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah,
excellent.
Am I seeing bike shorts there, Ash?
The other thing, folks, that's really a regional strength from the Naples area, of course, is Napolitano.
I just got off my bike.
Show us your Aglianico, mate.
Oh, that's really cool.
Oh, God, I've got a bike. I've got to go back on my bike. I'm trying to get one of the things about we've bought a ski bike because we don't have a cellar door. I'll show you.
Yeah.
We don't actually have a cellar door. We don't want a cellar door, so we've got a couple of farms up the houses up the farm, and what we're doing is doing events and getting people out in the river. Because the thing about I'm from the Barossa, but I love the Riverland, and it's one of the most. The rivers are one of the. It's quite unique. One of the important things of the Riverland is over everywhere in the world almost is it's got this amazing river, and it's not marketed very well. So we've bought a boat. The idea is to take people out skiing and etc. But I went out the other day. I think I've got to get a bit fitter. So I'm riding my bike, as you can tell.
Oh.
So show us.
Anybody else on your show been wearing bike?
No, because nobody's going to go near Lycra, mate. Nobody. But that's okay.
You can that we haven't seen.
No. Give the man some credibility. We're talking about a horse breaker that wears Lycra. That's cool.
Look, your street cred's gone up with me knowing that story about Texas. That is like my dream.
Ever been there?
Well, yes, but I did a week-long cattle muster on horseback in Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
Oh, love it. In fact, I'm still asking my parents for my pony since it died when I was about 11.
No, we were breaking 30 horses at a time. I tell you now.
Wow.
So, are you gonna? Did you flash the Aglianico or no? Did I miss it?
It's purple.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
So we've got in this range here. We've got this one here, which is this one's brand new. We've got Nero, Arinto, Tinta Barocca. There's another one there, Grenache Blanc.
So you said you don't.
And the new one's a Fiano, which. What I've got the Fiona. Oh, you've got. Did I give? I didn't drop it.
Yeah, please stand up again.
No. So no cellar door, Ash.
And here's here's a Fiona, and we got a Fiano as well.
Yeah. Now.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the labels.
No cellar door. No.
No cellar door. But can they buy? First of all, first question: can they buy the wine direct from you via the website?
Correct. Yes. So riccaterra.com.
Second thing, do you have those hoodies for sale?
Yes.
On
Excellent.
the website, do you? I didn't see them.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but if you just email us, we've got them.
Because I'm gonna buy one of those because I'm gonna support local, and that looks really cool.
That looks like one you would like, Jane, because it's got that sort of American Dodge kind of look to it.
Correct.
Have you ever seen my Dodge truck?
Sorry?
I got an old Dodge truck that I drive.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
what
right.
we
That's all.
like.
We've
And
all got a little
anything,
love affair with America.
anything that'll focus a little bit more attention on my chest is always a good thing. So I am going to line myself up for one of those
I'll buy one for you, Jane.
hoodies.
It's in the cupboard. I'll get one for you.
No, I'm going, mate, it's COVID. We all need to support each other. I'm buying one through the website and I want it posted to my PO box in Angaston, please.
We get
He'll
personal delivery.
just shove it in your letterbox, mate.
No. So given that you've got all these varieties in the ground, Ash, what else do you think might be of interest? What have you got hiding in the back blocks under the radar?
Oh, look, I think one variety that I think is going to start to it's bubbling away a little bit, but I really think Grenache Blanc for me is a variety that will fit really well in the Barossa. We would grow maybe 15 tonnes of Grenache Blanc. So there's not many people grow. I mean, Yangara do, and I think we've got the only straight Grenache Blanc in Australia.
Yeah, right.
Lumber's planting more of it now, but it's a really good variety. It probably doesn't have that acid drive that we see, say, in Rinto.
Yeah.
But, I think Grenache Blanc is definitely going to be, if I had to put $100 on a variety in 10 years' time, it's going to be, going gangbusters. I'd say Grenache Blanc. I mean, because even on the back of Grenache at the moment, I mean, like Riverland Grenache, we've got a wine called Soldier's Land, which we make from 90-year-old vines, which was very hard to find, and it's from some of the returned soldiers from World War II. And so I haven't got a bottle here, but anyway, we made it. It's a very different label to the rest of Ricca Terra. It's very traditional. Comes off this block. We donate a couple of dollars per bottle back to RSLSA.
Do you? I love that.
We've got 95 points with Halliday in the companion recently, and I'm going to do the promotion. We'll be the only the only Riverland wine business to get 5 stars with Halliday 2 years in a row. We're the first winery ever to get 5 stars in the Riverland with it, and we've done it two back to back. And the key thing is that the Grenache is from these old gnarly vines, and now we supply, Jason Collins with Messina with Grenache, Hentley, Soul Growers, Stewie Bourne. There's a heap of McLaren Vale growers that winemakers buying Grenache. There's some beautiful old Grenache blocks. Thistledown. There's a heap of them that have got these. There's a heap of nice little gems through the Riverland. You actually look beyond the sort of mass production.
Can you, just going back to that returned soldiers, can you just share the significance of that, like about the vineyards and...
Well, we do a very small amount of contract harvesting with our harvester, and we came across this block one day. This guy was at the back of Glossop, and I just saw these boundary rows that were neglected. There were just no irrigation. Bunches that were just, 3/4 of the size of what you get in the Barossa. And I said to the guy, "What are you getting? What are you doing with that?" He goes, "I sell it to." I won't name that, one of the largest wine companies in the Riverland, and we get about $300 a tonne. I said, "Well, how does that work? You hand pick it, you hand prune it, you must be losing money." He goes, "Yeah, we are." I said, "I'll give you $1,200 a tonne, and we'll hand pick it off the vine." So we did that, made it into wine, and it's stunning wine. And so I just thought to myself, both my grandparents in World War II. My grandfather was a squadron leader. He used to fly Lancasters, and my other grandfather used to drive tanks, drive tanks, and I just thought it'd be nice to sort of link so that it's preserving what we call the past, which is the vineyards. We don't want these old vineyards being pulled out, so we spend we buy them for a high pricing, and then the future is we do that to preserve or look after, or help look after the soldiers that come back. So
Excellent.
they're soldiers. So we actually donate to RSLSA.
I like that a lot. Yeah, that's really important.
And the fact that it's done so well in around with Halliday and etc. It's a nice story. It's our sort of, I don't know. It's a good feeling. It's a good.
Yeah,
feeling.
I bet. No, I think it's very important. Well done.
And now everybody wants bloody Grenache out of the river, and I can't keep up.
Well,
Good
like
talking to
we
him.
said, you're in a really strong position. That's a great position to be in. It's awesome.
And I am going to take this one.
Juicy
I'm
Jane.
I'm ordering this one because we're coming up to Christmas, and my brothers go fishing. Their mates have got an amateur license for 2 cray pots, and I'm going to put some in a box, wrap it up, put a bow on it, and that's going to be their lobster wine this year. Yep.
Just mark out Juicy June to Jane.
Yeah,
Might get a bit
I'll
weird.
change all the labels. Yeah.
Actually, imagine if I get a little light in the bottle. That'd be great Christmas, wouldn't it? You know, sort of a you could hang it from the tree.
Just a,
There you
or a
go.
little, yeah, it's just gorgeous,
Yeah.
mate. This is definitely going to be their lobster wine this year. I got them on to rosé, proper rosé, so they can move up to this now.
No, it's a cracking wine. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing all of these wines and spending the evening with us.
That's all right.
I'm glad I bumped into you this morning. That worked out quite well. I love the jungle drums, as you call it, Jane. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, no, it works well.
That's
No, I'll be putting my order in, and if it's moving at a cracking pace, I'm going to do it tonight, because this is the one that's
Yeah,
gonna be
I
for
agree.
Christmas.
I mean, they're all great. I can definitely see myself mainlining some of that Orinto over the summer.
Yeah. This is
Well,
this.
we've got a lot of them, so there's a lot of wines. We actually have to pare a few back a bit, but no, that's
No, it's really good. And what I like a lot about it too is that you're making these really beautiful crafted wines that are affordable.
Mm,
You know, people can actually afford to drink these and be really
that's good.
proud of drinking them because they're great wines.
well, you know, I remember a guy named Terry Lee, who you may have or may not have heard of. Terry was, I think he was head of the AWRI, and he was also the vice president of research, or president of Gallo in the States. And I know his daughter very well, Inca, who's actually now CEO of Vine Health Australia. And Terry said to me one day, he said, when tough times come, and Terry would be, he'd have to be 70, 75 now. When tough times come, you know, the $20 note is worth more than it is during less tough times. So, you know, now we're in really difficult times, people trade down. So what they want to do is, you know, I mean, it comes back to business, is that you want wines that people go, I'm going to put my 20 bucks on, I want it to deliver, and if it delivers, I'll go back and buy again.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
if you put 20 bucks on something that doesn't deliver, you'll never get a repeat sale.
No.
So, you know, for us, it's really important that they are affordable, and our motto in our whole business is everyone needs to win.
Yeah.
So the consumer needs to win, the distributor needs to win, we need to win. You know, and if somebody gets greedy in that chain, then we'll kill it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, true enough.
everybody be a winner.
I can imagine people, when they buy once, they'll buy again of these wines.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing about them that does not deliver on what their expectations, over-delivers expectations, 100%.
Yeah.
Hands down. I think it's awesome. Thank you so much for that. That was really fun.
Yep. Thanks for this.
We've got somebody
Thanks for the stories, and thanks for the Lycra shorts, and thanks for the cool
the
hoodie.
Lycra shorts is a bonus.
Some may not see that way.
I'm going to go back to my bike after a couple of glasses of wine. So I'll be happy.
All right.
Thanks a million, man.
Thanks, Ash.
Go Anguston B grade on the weekend.
Oh,
Yay.
yes. Yeah.
Right, there you go.
Have a great
Take
night.
care,
Cheers.
Ash. Thank you.
See you next season. Bye.